just going to do eyebrows for a little bit. Hello. Hello, chat and everybody. Welcome to our awesome last minute thrown together today Crypts of Winterfell teaser trailer review. Yeah.
Half thrown together.
That's what we're doing. We're reviewing a minute 45 of footage. There's going to be a lot of us. We're going to talk for way too long about way too little, but it's going to be great. So start off, of course, I am Matt, also known as Joe Magician, and I'm just going to introduce my lovely panel with me today. I am surrounded by the Women's Council today. It's just me off in the corner. They're kind of just going to do their thing and talk about their own stuff. It's going to be fun. First off, we have Gray Area. She is the gray in your area, mother of the sweet summer children.
Why are you just now reading that?
I was busy.
I can tell you just read it.
I just read that this second.
Hello.
I'm reading the other ones now. Oh, okay. Obviously.
I said hello, everyone.
I was going to let you like promo your stuff with Gray.
Sorry. Hello, everyone. It's the Gray in your area. I'm sorry.
We're already going off the rails.
Yeah.
Rails are gone.
I'm here to discuss the awesome teaser with this panel. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you're not excited, get excited.
Wow. Massive hype right there. Next up, we have Sam or Sansa Snark, who will drink herself into a small coffin, but in the meantime, you can find her writing for Watchers on the Wall and co-hosting the Night's Cast. Hello, Sam.
Hello. Thanks for having me on. Super excited. As Matt said, I am co-host of the Night's Cast, the official podcast of Watchers on the Wall. You can find us on iTunes and SoundCloud, also on Twitter at Night's Cast. And if you're so inclined, you can find me on Twitter at the Sansa Snark.
That sounds so professional.
Oh, thanks.
That was really good. And what are you wearing? What's going on up there?
I'm Gray Wind because it's only the head.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh.
Wah, wah. Sorry to bring down the mood, guys.
Rip Gray Wind. You died too soon.
Sorry.
Next up, we have Maddie K. Ray. She podcasts, she cosplays, and she's hireable. Come to Con of Thrones and she will do shots with you.
I will. That's all I do at Con of Thrones.
Can confirm. There were shots everywhere.
I had to mute myself because I screamed at the Gray Wind just the head comment. That was beautiful. Today I am Team Onesie, repping the Red Lion. So Team Lannister and also Team Red Wine.
She is the the onesie that was promised.
The onesie that was promised.
Promised in the chat. And people, I mean, I think you're most famous for your awesome Daenerys cosplay. Yes. Winter Daenerys.
Mm-hmm. She's hanging out over there. I got to vodka her out. But I'm preparing many more surprises for the con season this year. All Game of Thrones themed. So come check it out.
There we go. There'll be more. I mean, the cosplay last year was amazing. It's going to be just as good probably this year.
Absolutely. If I have anything to say about it, it will.
Yeah, there we go. And last not least, we have Mallory or Sanrixian, the mother of dragons with a W in there, Hand of the Dragon, spawner of Dank Neens, and captain of the Weirwood submarine, and titles.
You just read that for the first time, didn't you?
Does it show? Does it show from my YouTube channel that I read quotes very poorly?
No, you do great. You're doing amazing, sweetie.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's me, and I will be drawing some dumb nonsense for you today, I guess. I'm very tired. I just got off work.
What's going on here?
Firstly, we have Bran symbolically represented as a feather,
okay.
Which we will get into. And he is a quail.
Sure.
For some reason. And I can't remember why. But this is Quail Bran.
Sure.
Enjoy. The end.
And then a very angry looking Sansa?
Yeah, Sansa. Good call.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm
glad I nailed that one.
I always forget to actually introduce myself. It's at Sanrexian on Twitter, and I have just ordered the second batch of calendars. So if you don't have a 2019 calendar yet and you want some of my art, which is all ASWAF themed, thank you for teaching me how to say that, Michael. Shout out, buddy. But it's all ASWAF themed, and that's at sanrexian.com. So
I
You
say
also-
Soya.
That's
that-
what asswaf means.
I say Soya.
I say asswaff.
Ah, I've never
I
heard that
got
before.
caught. At Comic
I don't think I've ever heard that either.
Asswaff.
Are
Asswaff.
you okay, chat? I want to know, are you team Aswaf or team Asoyif?
I like Asoyif now that you say it, though. I've never heard
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah, I think it's soya.
ASOIAF, Asoyif.
Yeah.
It's awkward to say. So you say ass and then you say waffles. Ass waffles.
See, Michael had
Ass
this
waffles?
whole 20 minutes of him coaching me how to say this, and now I just feel wrong. I feel
Yeah.
all kinds of wrong.
A soy sounds like a Starbucks drink.
It is. It's a soy caramel latte, I bet.
Yeah,
With
and
two
it's
prom-
delicious. It's also Sansa's favorite drink.
I thought her favorite drink would be lemon drops.
No, her favorite cake, her favorite food is lemon cakes. Her favorite
Yeah.
drink is a soy caramel latte, which goes great with a lemon cake. I'm just saying.
Are we all baristas? Are we all ex-baristas? Is that what's happening now?
I'm
not
not.
I'm
a
not,
barista.
but
I'm
I
a
am.
coffee addict.
I'm
I don't
very
know if that
proud
helps.
of your coffee knowledge.
Yeah.
Yes, good job.
Thank you.
Her bun's big.
Poor Joe.
No, this is what I asked for.
No, he is blessed to be among our
This is
council.
true.
Okay, you shut your mouth.
that is true. We
Council's going
invited
on.
him.
I'm just over here.
We invited him into the Council of Women. So
True.
How does this happen so frequently?
Good Queen Madison. Good Queen Madison.
That's gonna be a Twitter name
I'm
now.
gonna make it happen.
get it trending. Hashtag Good Queen Maddie San.
Hey, I'd be trending, so that'd be fun, I guess. Despite the fact I would now be a good queen, whatever. Anyway, so a trailer happened, or a teaser, I guess we would call it, because there is a trailer would be footage from the upcoming season. There's no footage from the upcoming season in this teaser. It was debuted yesterday, I think. Yeah. A minute
Less than
45
24
long.
hours ago.
Yeah, a lot of things happened in the last day, so like, actually not that much. This just sounds sad on my part, but anyway. The second teaser, the first one was obviously the ice and fire colliding and the Aegon's table and all that stuff. This one was actually had people in it, which was an upgrade, I would say. It featured not Bran, definitely not Bran, right? No Bran was in there.
Bran was all over the place. I don't know what you're talking about.
Hashtag no Bran. Anyway,
There was the feather. That was Bran.
there was no Bran. There was Jon, Arya, and Sansa in the Winterfell Crypts, and they kind of just walk in, meet up, see statues of themselves, and some mist flows down the hallway. End of teaser. So we're good here. I mean, that's basically it.
I asked
Very succinct.
the flames for Bran, and he shows me only feather.
Only shows me feather.
You're welcome.
I'm thinking of a character, someone named Uncle Feather. What's that from?
Are you thinking of Uncle Fester from the Addams
Uncle
Family?
No.
Fester.
Uncle Feather. Uncle Feather's from something.
I'm thinking Uncle Fester.
It's Uncle
That's
Fester.
yeah.
No, I remember this from something. Uncle Feather's from something. Anyway.
Prove it.
I'm going to Google this right now. Somebody else talk for a few seconds.
So-
Okay, so let's talk about the
It's
teaser.
from Super Fudge.
Oh,
in your
shit.
face.
Oh my god.
I loved
Super
Super Fudge.
Wow.
I've never heard of that. Never.
Are you saying
heard
you're
of
not a book reader, Gray?
it. No.
Now
Yeah.
I want to see Bran as Uncle Fester.
I'm doing it.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh my god, please do it. Please do it. It's happening. It's happening.
It's already happening.
It's already happening. All right, fair
You
enough.
guys don't know yet. You don't know me yet. We're gonna be friends.
I
This is a
honestly
very
wanted to
encouraging
ask you
face.
to do that the second that it happened, but I was gonna wait. Okay, anyway, let's keep going. What's next?
I thought the first thing we would do is I took some awesome notes on this really long and difficult to understand teaser, and I thought we would just go through the major events in this minute 45 one by one. So it opens up with the back of Jon Snow. He's in the Winterfell Crypts. He has a torch. He's kind of, moseying down a little bit. And then he passes the statue of Lyanna Stark with a little direwolf next to it, which I don't remember that ever being there. I think that's the first time I saw that direwolf in the crypt.
I know. I mean, most of the other statues down there do, because they're all Lords of Winterfell. But
yeah,
I don't know if I remember that either.
I think in the books the Lords of Winterfell have dire wolves.
Yeah,
but in the movie, in the show, they haven't shown it.
Yeah,
just
so I didn't notice that actually, even in the 4 times that I've watched this teaser. So I wonder if it means something that they made sure to show the direwolf.
I'm not sure why. I mean, why would they commission a direwolf for Lyanna? She literally never had one.
I mean, they also made an exception to bury her in the crypts because technically,
technically she was a queen, so she can have whatever she wants.
Aha!
There it is, Queen.
Sorry,
Lyanna.
I'm a Lyanna stan.
Isn't Lyanna? Is it the direwolf that's next to Lyanna? Isn't that like Brandon? Isn't Brandon right next to her?
Mm-hmm.
He should be, but we don't see another statue next to her. It's one big tomb opening. There's Lyanna and then a direwolf.
We need to get some more stills of the crypts.
Yeah,
I can't believe I didn't notice that. The number of times I've watched this already.
And you're wearing a direwolf hat.
I know. I'm a horrible excuse for a direwolf right now.
Fake fan.
Shame on me.
Hashtag shame. Get somebody to get a bell.
I know. Somebody get the shame bell out.
Shame.
And then the other important thing that happens as Jon is walking by is we hear the voiceover of Lyanna saying to protect her precious cinnamon bun Aegon. I mean, that's not exactly what she said.
Paraphrase.
But I paraphrase. I made it better. I upped the line a little
cinnamon
bit.
Bun?
Cinnamon bun.
Why is
her precious cinnamon bun?
It's a double cinnamon bun, if you know what I mean.
Indeed, it is.
Ladies, this is what you get.
Wow.
Of her asking Ned from the Tower of Joy, but Jon Discour keeps moseying, but then the feather falls from her hand, and Jon turns around as if he heard something, which is insane because it's a feather.
He felt it in the Force. Don't question it.
Okay, crossovers now.
Well, actually, it reminded me of when he found Ghost for the first time. Nobody else heard anything.
Like a working sense. Yeah, that was going to be my real answer, but I had to make a joke.
Hashtag the yokes. Yeah, I thought that was really interesting that he turned around. It's almost kind of making you wonder if he heard her. Which I don't know. What do you make of that?
I mean, I think they had to show some way that they had to show in some way that Jon is, as if we didn't already know this already, but like he's definitely going to be made aware of his parentage, and it's going to be a really big deal, I think. Because like you said, it's a feather hitting a stone floor.
You can't hear it.
You can't hear it, but I think it's just a visual representation of, this thing that means Lyanna, and Jon hears it, senses it, whatever. So, just whatever kind of connection they're making there.
Mm-hmm.
So.
What about you, Gray? What do you make of this Jon and Lyanna little thing?
Sorry, I was muted. So I think the feather definitely. I think the whole teaser, first of all, was about Jon. It was about Jon's parentage. Everything that happened in the teaser up until the last part had to do with Jon's parentage. But I also think that, so my take on this was, all right, Robert puts the feather there. Sansa finds the feather in season 5. When the feather's falling down, Lyanna's like, you have to protect them. And then it pans to Sansa. So I'm like, I think Sansa is going to have to like politically protect Jon.
Because he's a dumbass. We love him, but he's a dumbass.
She kind of already has been doing that.
So, okay, so I don't like Sansa. I know you guys do, but I don't. So last season, I thought a lot of the stuff she was doing was basically to undermine him. And it felt really weird that she was doing the things that she was doing. But I don't know if that's like her own way. Like that was my take on this teaser. Like I've never had that idea before this teaser, and that feather, I feel like that feather is really relatable to Sansa as well as R+L, but Sansa too. So I think that Sansa, I feel like it could go a couple different ways, but I think that maybe I have been, what I said in my breakdown videos, maybe I have been misinterpreting what she's doing, and it's actually her fiercely trying to protect him and not undermine him.
Can I jump in real quick with that to comment on that? Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, I totally got that too. Like, especially from like the 10-second clip where she sees Daenerys and like looks over Jon's shoulder, like protectively, like, you know, I'm protecting you, but also if my brother loves you, there's got to be a reason. And I'm thinking that's before they find out about Jon's heritage. But I like that it made you think, Gray, because and I think that they did a terrible job with Sansa's character last season.
Agreed.
And nothing made sense.
Yeah.
So I'm like, maybe they can fix it. Hopefully they can fix it. And I have hope, and it's a wonderful feeling.
Yeah, because like I never thought, my mind never went there. And then when I seen that feather, I'm like, ooh, that's like
Yeah.
Sansa. And that, like it felt like Lyanna was talking to Sansa. And then when it goes further, it's like Catelyn saying, well, all of this has happened to me because I couldn't love a motherless child. And then it's like Sansa's walking by. So it's like saying, Sansa, you're gonna have to love him, you're gonna have to protect him. And I feel like that's where it might be going.
And if we think even back to, is it season 6 or it's season 6 or early in season 7 where they reunite and they have like that really like long hug. I was like, oh my God, there's the only family that they know about right now. And it just kind of like is tying it together for me. And I'm glad.
Yeah. Even though, I mean, I definitely agree with you, Gray, that in season 7, or whoever said this, sorry, I'm losing track because there's so many of us in here, that they really did not write Sansa very well. And it definitely seemed like she was specifically just trying to undermine Jon at every turn. But I honestly don't think that ever since their reunion, I think that Sansa finding a family member of hers that was still alive, even if like maybe she felt differently about Jon before, you know, because they're the siblings that had the least in common. They didn't really spend a lot of time together, you know, but I think them reuniting and her realizing, holy shit, I still have family left. Like I need to protect the family that I have as fiercely as I can. And that may not have come out the best way in season 7, but Sansa was also dealing with trying to run Winterfell. So it definitely muddied the waters there. But yeah, I think I definitely think that she is going to be Jon's fiercest protector, maybe even more so than Dany.
Well,
I agree with that. I'm sorry, I'm going to hop in real quick. I think that what they were trying to do with season 7 that didn't really work was Sansa being, you know, living her whole life as, or her whole life throughout the show as like the Lady of Winterfell, and now like has to deal with Jon coming in and being like, oh, I'm in charge of things because suddenly I'm not in the Night's Watch anymore. I think they were trying to like portray that struggle between like, I'm the Lady of Winterfell but Jon being like, I have a responsibility to lead, but I don't think it translated very well because they just had too much going on in season 7. That being said, the lone wolf dies, but the pack survives. So they're always going to protect each other, and they're always going to be there for one another because that's what Starks are about. And I think that they have finally realized it and are going to work together. At least those two are going to work together for season 8.
Picking up on what Lyanna asked of Ned all those years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Because Jon is a dumb. We love him, but he's such a dumb. And
he does a lot of dumb stuff.
My boy, if you're gonna like run into danger, you better wish you had a Sansa Stark at your back, saying, "Hey, we need more boiled leather armor. Hey, we need more grain. Hey, stuff's about to get really bad." And I'm thinking ahead while you're thinking now.
Sometimes Jon's a little kid running out the door, and the mom needs to grab him by the collar and pull him back a few times.
Yeah, exactly.
Never had that. Now he's. So, yeah, that sounds probably what Sansa's going to try and do, especially as Jon starts his budding romance with Daenerys. I mean, Sansa's going to be very suspicious of this dragon queen that showed up
Right. Exactly.
for good reason.
Budding romance again.
Yeah,
Romantically.
budding.
Budding.
I think the other part of this that people have been debating quite a lot in the fandom is, what does the feather mean?
No.
Is the feather? Is it Bran? What-
Littlefinger is alive.
Is
It's
Littlefinger
a mockingbird
alive?
feather. Littlefinger is alive. Confirmed.
I would much rather
Sam, I will
Bran
kick
be.
you off the stream.
I would much
You know
rather
I'm joking.
Bran be a feather than the Night King. So fuck yeah, Bran's a feather. Let's do it.
Yeah,
So
let's
that's
go
a-
there.
That's an infinitely better theory.
Yeah.
This ties back to my brand symbolically
of course.
representing a quail. Because the feather is obviously a quail feather. And two of us have researched which feather this was because we're like, what is it? So obviously what it's trying to tell us is Bran will become a quail.
Sure.
I'm done.
Second
Which is
life
just
quail.
one step up from a chicken.
Yeah, truly. It's like a
Barely.
fancy chicken.
Very fancy chicken.
Yeah.
Actually, this is going to sound dumb because it is dumb. The first thing I thought when I saw that feather fall was I was reminded from the books when Theon's asking for forgiveness from the weirwood, and Bran has the little leaf fall down and hit him on the forehead, kind of like giving a pat on the head, like, good Theon, you can do it, buddy.
Good
But
boy.
I mean, that's the only connection I got, other than the fact that we're just supposed to remember that there are clues out there for Jon to follow to lead him back to Lyanna, and he's been missing a lot of them, but
And-
he's going to probably figure it out at some point.
I believe that John Dark in the chat said that Robert put the feather there in episode 1.
Yep.
And I'm very interested. I feel like feathers have some sort of symbolism in the faith of the Seven, and I cannot think at all of what it is. But it's deeply, deeply interesting to me. So
All right.
yeah.
I don't know what it means either. I'm
remember.
not big on feather lore.
So I don't know what it means, but I was looking it up, and Watchers on the Wall had posted like a review, like back when the season started going on. It was like the commentary, season 5, when Sansa actually finds the feather down there. And basically Dan and Dave were like, oh, well, yeah, we just figured that since Robert had put it there, it's probably still there. There isn't much cleaning
God.
going on there.
There.
And then we thought it would just be cool that if Sansa finds it and she wonders about it, and the audience will wonder about it too, and then they'll remember. And I'm like, really? This is what?
Great show writing, guys.
Well,
Yeah.
Just
I think-
bless.
Corey Smith of Fansided was talking about how the feather symbolizes Robert's love for Lyanna and like his like fantasy of his side of the story, and the feather being knocked over, the feather being dusted off while Sansa's talking is like a sort of perversion of that narrative for her thing with Ramsay, whereas the Jon knocking off the feather is like, I'm sorry, I'm using a lot of hand motions. Jon knocking off the feather is now we're doing magic.
you're a
love it.
magician.
Is symbolic of the truth, which is also the name of my favorite Game of Thrones soundtrack track, Truth. That the story is never what it seems, and his presence in the crypts kind of like brings everything full circle to kind of break the lie.
Especially because the feather for Robert, I mean, it's supposed to be a symbol of love, like you were saying, but it really just shows he doesn't understand Lyanna, because what does she have to do with
Exactly.
feathers? Nothing.
Yeah,
She
She
didn't
rode
give a
horses.
shit about
she
feathers.
beat up people. She was
Yeah.
the no laughing tree. What does that anything have to do with
Exactly.
feathers? Nothing.
Exactly. Feathers
I've
are like
wondered that-
delicate and beautiful. They're like bones. They're easily breakable, and none of that was Lyanna. So
I
yeah.
have literally wondered since season 1 why, and it seems it's kind of like just a little thing, like just almost like a throwaway thing, but why a feather? It has driven me crazy for 8 seasons now. So 7, whatever.
A feather because Bran is the winged wolf.
Sure, makes sense. Checks out.
Yeah,
Declare.
Knocked.
totally.
Lock it up. All right, so we have literally only gotten about 5 seconds into the teaser,
I'm so sorry.
it's okay. Let's move on to the next one. We see Sansa walking in from another hallway. She passes Catelyn's statue, and we hear the line that she says to Talisa in season 3, episode 2, about how all the badness and whatever that has befallen her family is because she could not love a motherless child. Obviously, about Jon, like Gray was saying at the beginning, this is a very, very Jon-focused teaser. Previous ones would feature like Daenerys and Cersei. This is really, really focused on him. That this season might just be mostly his story. And even this one that's being said to Sansa to remind her, like we were talking about, how she may need to step up and be the mom that Jon never had because he's a bit of a dumbass. Even that story is about Jon in a way. I mean, Sansa's having her own plot within it, but it's a story about him.
I think something interesting about that line is that as it's delivered, we do see Sansa walking past Catelyn's statue, which is, I think, another reason why we know that this is definitely not like it's all symbolic, like not meant to be taken literally, because Catelyn Tully would not have a statue in the Crypts of Winterfell, and I'm going to die on that hill if anyone wants to argue with me.
Thank
you. I've seen otherwise on Twitter. But so as that line is being delivered, the view starts on Sansa, but toward the end of it, the focus actually shifts to Arya, who we see coming in next. And I was talking with Petra, one of our other Watchers on the Wall contributors, and she thought it was interesting that the line, that particular line about a motherless child, ends with the view on Arya, not necessarily on Sansa, because Sansa is probably more inclined to accept Jon's relationship with Dany and what his parentage actually means and everything, and that Arya might have a tougher time dealing with it and might end up causing some kind of fracture amongst the Stark children. So, but based on what we were just talking about how that's all they have now is each other, and they really are probably going to protect each other a lot. I don't know if that's entirely possible, but it's, food for thought.
Yeah, they're all motherless children now. They all need to protect each other.
Yeah,
it's very true. Gray or Mallory, what do either of you think about this line with Catelyn and Sansa?
I think it's just like you said, Jon focused this entire trailer, and I don't think there's gonna be I don't even think Jon is gonna know I don't think he's gonna learn his parentage right away. I don't think that's gonna be some episode 1 thing. So I don't think that's anything that they're gonna focus on at first. I think, if you really think about it, if I'm about to go fight the army of the dead and the fate of the world depends on it, you might not want to tell me right then and there that my dad isn't my dad and my mom is really my dad's sister. You might not want to, that might not be information that you want to tell somebody right then and there. And I think another thought that I had was, because the feather may represent Jon's parentage, is that because that feather froze, it means that they're going to deal with the Night King and the White Walkers first. And then later, after that's all dealt with, then Jon will find out who he is. So I actually don't know why they chose that quote.
It's such a weird quote. I was listening to Azora Hype's stream earlier with LML and History of Westeros, and I forget the guy's name, but he Geek Chat 1 or something, I think it was.
That's JR.
JR? Okay.
Yeah.
They were talking about this earlier, and they all kind of agreed, and it made sense to me too, that even within Catelyn's story, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't see the connection between her treatment of Jon and how all this awful stuff happened to House Stark. Jon is really not involved with really any of it. He fucks off to the Wall before any of it happens. Who he is never really comes up. It's all about Ned and Lysa and Cat and Littlefinger and all those characters. He's kind of sheltered from it. So I think it's just kind of calling back that Jon does need someone to look after him. Maybe that's the only reason it's in there.
I will say that I don't know, Gray, what you said about his Jon's parentage probably or possibly not coming until later in the season is definitely a possibility. But from what we know so far about filming, this might be spoilery. Is that okay to say, or should I not?
I don't know any spoilers.
I don't
Okay,
know any
well-
No.
I know a few, but not.
Well, this isn't. I mean, this probably would. It's not a huge spoiler, but
Okay.
from what we know, the big huge battle that is going to happen
Mhm.
doesn't happen until episode 3, I think. And I have a feeling that the issue of that is going to would probably come up before that. But I don't know. I mean, I guess it's just a guess on my part.
Well, yeah, something that was brought up to me when I was watching the teaser last night was my partner was like, "What if John never finds out who his parents are?" And I'm like, "No, that can't happen. That cannot
It might.
happen."
You know what? I was thinking about this earlier today because thinking back to how reticent John was to like, be king in the North. And I mean, he didn't even really seem like he was enjoying himself as Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, especially because he was stabbed by his fellow men. I wonder, and this is probably an out there, not really possible thing, but if Bran and John are alone and Bran tells him what he knows, and John is like, I don't want to know that. I don't want anyone else to know that. This is not, we're just gonna pretend this conversation never happened kind of thing.
That would be really cool.
I like that.
I doubt it, but I don't know. From what we know about John's character, it's possible.
I have information about this coming from Maester Monthly co-host Eliana. She comes in hot in the chat
say
saying,
more.
from 2008 at a Barnes & Noble Q&A, George has said that John will learn his parentage
Oh,
at some
thank
point.
God, Eliana. I was so scared.
Thanks,
Eliana.
Eliana.
Eliana coming in with the facts.
Eliana coming in. But that doesn't say when. I mean, it could be right at the end, maybe right before he dies or something like that. If he dies again, whatever. Right at the end of the story. I mean, it's one of those things where I think it's something the fandom thinks is really important about John's identity, but isn't super important to him personally. His identity is as a Stark. Becoming a Targaryen would probably just make him question if he really wants to be with Dany. I think that would be one of the few things that would actually change for him.
Yeah.
What about like if he wants to rule? Like if he's put in that position?
He doesn't really seem to want to.
No, I think he doesn't want to at all either. I think he's just doing it because it's got to get done. But
and he already like swore fealty to Dany as his queen, and we all know like John's very honorable. So even if he does, when he learns that he's half Targaryen and they're related and whatnot, I could see him. I would be more inclined to see him like not pursuing ruling and leaving it up to Dany, and him, I don't know, staying in the North.
I don't know. We have to consider the doctrine of exceptionalism.
You've read Fire and Blood, haven't you?
Fire and
I've been
Blood.
waiting for this.
The Targaryen exceptionalism comes back into style.
But I
just
don't
in
know
time.
if John himself would be cool with that.
That's true.
He's not raised
I
as a
think that-
Targaryen.
I think that he cares less about name bonds than he does like family bonds. Like I don't think he would consider Dany family. I think he would consider Sansa a sister more than he would consider Dany a sister, even though they're equally related.
Yeah.
So
Very true.
I don't know.
And they were raised as siblings, so
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. So John is such a hard read. I was fighting with a bunch of people today on whether or not he was a Cancer or a Taurus, and either one of them is just bad news bears for emotional availability. So
I would actually.
There's a quote.
I would actually really like to see John and Daenerys leave Westeros altogether.
like the elves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arya,
Sail west.
I would love to see Arya and John go west of Westeros.
There we go.
Yeah.
Alyssa Farman coming back. There's a reason
My
George
bitch! I love her.
keeps writing about these people like going to far corners of the planet on these weird ships.
Tyanna
Maybe-
and Alyssa, I stan.
Maybe at the end of this, John and Daenerys go to the Night Fort and sacrifice to the others.
Wow, that's a dark
Probably.
take.
I mean, I was just thinking, he did say bittersweet, and we're all just like, yeah, they're gonna.
I'm also very much team John dies. Like I am totally fine with John dying. Like that is honestly preferable, and I think he would agree. So,
Well,
Jeez.
yeah, that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah,
let's
sorry.
go back to the teaser a little
cool.
bit.
Yeah.
Just to walk back to the stream. So the next thing is we talked about Arya. She walks in. There's no statue. She just does her tough walk, which she's very good at this point.
Because she is no one, no
She is
statue.
no one, no past, no family, except she does. It's weird. Anyway, she's still in the crypts, even if she doesn't really feel like herself anymore. And then the next one is Jon walks past Ned's statue, and this one he actually stops and looks at, as the voiceover is Ned saying the line, "You are Stark, you might not have my blood. I mean, you might not have my name, but you have my blood." So we have Jon barely paying attention to Lyanna, but then turning and going like Ned, like, "Yeah, you're my dad." Whoops. Sorry, Jon.
I mean, in fairness, he never knew Lyanna, so
Yeah,
Ned was the only father he ever knew. So
true.
I guess it makes sense that he would of all of the statues or tombs that he would stop at, it would be probably be Ned's.
Yeah, Ned is the dead Stark he has the most connection with, probably the one that's actually buried there, because who knows what the fuck happened to Rob's body. Could be anywhere.
Oh, we know what
I ate
happened.
it.
Well, what happened after that? Like, what did they do with it
Yeah.
after? Who knows? Probably dumped in the river, but
I can't imagine the phrase would observe, Stark burial traditions.
And I mean, the Rickon just can't sit with them at all in the crypts. Like, just you can't sit with us, Rickon.
poor Rickon. No statue.
No one cares about Rickon.
Rickon.
No one cares about Rickon. Poor Rickon.
Justice for Rickon.
One thing I thought was really interesting about this quote, and this is something we're going to get into in a little bit as we go further into the teaser, is that the quote from Ned is he's saying to Jon, "When I see you again, we'll talk about all this." So we're in the crypts. There's the statues. There's quite a lot of hints, especially from the books, that the Starks are maybe necromancers, or that the statues are alive, or the people inside them are still alive. Are we setting up a return of Sean Bean in some way?
Seen Bean.
Okay, I don't think that we're there yet, but I was going to say, are we getting into Stark White hype right now?
A little bit later. But
Okay,
this is
all
like
right.
at the beginning of it, because
Let me know, because I'm excited.
It's such an odd quote, because it's a promise, and Starks always keep their promises. Ned said he would talk to Jon at some point about his mother.
Yeah,
So-
and saying that, knowing that Jon was on his way to the Wall to become a member of the Night's Watch, when like you're supposed to, give up all of your family connections, and like, I mean, I know that Benjen, came and visited when Robert and his retinue stopped at Winterfell, but I mean, Ned couldn't be sure that he might ever see him again, or that it would be anytime soon. So,
I think the tragedy of Ned is that every promise he ever made, he couldn't keep.
Oh,
no.
he kept
I'm
Lyanna's
sorry.
promise, sort of.
I mean, he kept
he's
Jon safe.
relatively safe,
But
Yeah.
then he died, so he didn't keep him safe.
but everyone dies, Maddie.
Yes, well, if we're gonna split hairs,
Fell on more clueless. What else am I good for? Okay.
that's what we do in this fandom.
But I think I would love it if Ned could have a conversation. If he could have a conversation, like, I think there's a way to factor in Bran here,
Mhm.
where Bran and Jon watch
Link.
Yeah, Link and watch Ned have a conversation with Lyanna under the Weirwood in Winterfell. That would be sick as fuck. But I don't know that it's gonna happen. So
Oh
I
my
mean-
gosh, I want this all to happen.
Fingers crossed.
I thought of like, Bran, okay, the movie Ghost, when Whoopi Goldberg, like,
Okay.
Bran like
here for this.
becomes Ned Stark. I don't know. They're not making pottery together or anything. But
I hope
Bran,
not.
Bran
would
and
just be weird.
Jon sister act.
Yep.
Yeah.
These are references. These are references we're making. Um,
Do you see what I'm drawing, Matt?
actually, I want to let's
Blue-Eyes
check
White
in
Dragon!
check in with Mallory. So we got a blue eyes white dragon,
I thought of this in
an
the car.
overrated Yu-Gi-Oh card.
Fuck you. And this is the Night King as Kaiba. I'll draw more belts, and then it'll look more Kaiba.
Yeah, he needs more
The
belts
Night
on
King
everything.
is my very first anime boyfriend. Wow.
He's my anime boyfriend. I'll fight you. Oh my
He
God.
was my first anime boyfriend.
Me
You
too.
can have him. He was just my first.
He's my forever anime boyfriend.
I understand and I respect that.
Okay, Gray is totally judging me right now. Okay, we're totally cool before. Okay, so yeah, we have blue eyes, white, it's a pun. And then we have the mystery feather.
The feather of mystery.
And this
Oh my
one's for
God.
you, Maddie. He's a
He
Yeah.
is a dumb. Thank you.
You're
He's a
welcome.
dumb
And then here's the Fester.
Uncle
And-
Feather. Uncle Feather.
Uncle Feather.
Is that supposed to be Matt?
No.
Matt.
Yeah, that
I'll
guy
make it
called
so
Uncle
you can
Feather.
tell. Here you go.
The hair is very accurate.
Oh yeah, I can draw Matt's hair. Got a couple flowers on here, and it's a Hawaiian shirt, and it's Matt. There we go.
Yes.
Yeah, there
Very
we go. That's me. All right.
And then, did I misinterpret this one? Brandon Fester.
Yeah.
No,
I don't know if
you
that's
did not
supposed to be.
misinterpret it. That was Uncle Brandon Fester.
It's glorious.
You did it perfectly. Congrats.
I'm so happy. I did it right. Okay. Continue.
So just gonna move on from that one. So let's see here. Up next, John walks up to Sansa and Arya. They look at him. They look back, and then they walk up and they see their own statues up there. And as they're doing that, wind blows from within the crypt, something that shouldn't happen because it's a stagnant crypt. That's why the feather never moved, apparently. And we start to see the mists and the cold start rolling down the hallway. Now, this is something I got particularly excited about, but I know, Gray, you did too. Particularly the possibility of the undead army walking out of the tombs.
Stark White hype. Stark White hype.
Yeah. So the Stone Kings just come into life, basically, like Lord of the Rings, the Dead of Dunharrow, like just a ghost army that fights for the living, not for the dead. So like basically a ghost army versus a ghost army.
I mean, it
Would you say the whites?
oh my
the
God.
right
sorry.
one.
The white stuff.
The white
I think I
Fun,
named an
right.
essay that once, the white stuff. I forget why.
But if you watch the actual clip from the Lord of the Rings, like that, when they go in that like cavern thing, the mist is all in there, just like it is in Winterfell or in the Crypts of Winterfell in that teaser. And also, Aragorn, however you pronounce it, he's holding like the torch in the same hand as John. Like it's very reminiscent of that scene.
And we know that George loves Tolkien. So
Yes.
And he loves zombies. He writes about zombies in like every way possible in just about every series he can. Every book, every short story, you should expect zombies at some point. Whether it's sci-fi or fantasy or somewhere in between, they show up.
Yeah.
Especially zombies that people used to know. That's sort of been an important point so far. A lot of the zombies in the show and the books have not been people that characters know, especially the ones controlled by the others. The closest has been like Jaffer Flowers and Othor, when John actually knew them briefly before he had to end up killing them.
Yeah.
With the Starks, I mean, what they do in those crypts is totally unusual. It's unlike anything else in all of Westeros, maybe in all of Planetos, as far as we know. They keep their dead locked up in these sealed tombs.
Yeah.
They have statues sitting down with dire wolves and swords across their laps. They didn't do that in the show for this, but that's basically what you're supposed to understand, that you're not welcome. So it's almost like they're saying, "Nuh-uh, don't come in here. Don't raise our dead."
It's crazy to me that the family that should have the most experience with whites and the Night King is the one that doesn't burn their dead.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't understand that.
Good point.
do we? I mean, we know the wildlings do because they're beyond the wall. But do we know for sure if other northern houses don't burn their dead?
Well,
Is that canon?
The only other burial I think we get from the north is the Dustins, and
Dustins.
they have barrows, which is kind of
Yeah.
like barrow whites from Lord of the Rings. So
Yeah.
but that's not the same thing. Those are just like large mounds of earth. The Starks are doing something on a totally different level with
Yeah.
their dead.
what if
No,
they use
well,
their
I
dead?
was just speaking specifically about like burning dead versus not. So
Yeah. So the interesting thing about Winterfell is when we talk about it, we say, oh, Winterfell was built by Bran the Builder, and the Wall, and the High Tower, and Storm's End. But when you actually look at Winterfell, and when you in reading A World of Ice and Fire, it's like Winterfell was built over time. What Brandon the Builder, if he had anything to do with the building of Winterfell, what he actually built was the first keep, and then the crypts were basically already there because they were essentially a secret tree town, like Bloodraven's Cave. That's what the crypts are. They're Bloodraven's Cave. Yeah, and that's why the ground was never leveled. You can't level a secret tree town or you'll collapse the town. So that's why I think Bran's third eye was open down there, because I feel like it's essentially weirwood roots all through there.
Could be. We see from the Bloodraven's Cave that weirwood roots unexpectedly go straight through rock. They'll burrow through anything you give them enough time. Those tombs have been there for a long time. That weirwood is huge. It's entirely possible that in each of the tombs, maybe like Bloodraven, there's little weirwood roots coming down and keeping those bodies a little bit fresher than people think. Thanks.
Definitely.
That was from the Halloween spectacular I did with LML, where we talked about the crypts. That was my most tinfoil idea, but I mean, we see it happen with Bloodraven, so it could happen elsewhere.
Yeah, and like Bloodraven has those little people enthroned in like there's a lot of similarities between Bloodraven's Cave and the Crypts of Winterfell. Like Bran sees the children of the forest with like all enthroned and stuff, and then it's warm down there. And when Theon takes Lady Dustin down there, it's warm. He doesn't say it's warm. He's like never warm, but it doesn't feel as cold as usual. And the hot springs of Winterfell, and then Bloodraven like has a black river in his cave. Like there is a lot of similarities. And the tunnels like probably all connect to each other. Like you could probably reach Bloodraven's Cave underground from Winterfell.
Eliana likes this idea. She loves the idea of all the rivers underground meeting each other in some big underground confluence.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty cool idea. Especially because the structure of Winterfell itself is described several times as a stone tree. So, I mean, you don't even have to go further than that. It's like, oh yeah, so it's basically the same thing. When you look at Winterfell, you're supposed to see a weirwood even beyond the one in the heart tree.
Yeah.
And there's quite a lot of dead down there.
Somebody in the chat said, poor old Zen Maester said, poor old Nisa is down there just waiting to make more babies.
Yep.
Yep.
That's my favorite Night's Queen theory, that she's buried down beyond the pass, the part where that is caved in, the deepest part of the crypts. And essentially they like separated her mind and her body, where they keep her mind in the weirwoods and they keep her body technically alive down there. But
are you talking about the Night Queen or Nis?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Both.
Yeah, I was like,
kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's wild tinfoil right there.
It's cool though.
That's some weapons grade tinfoil.
But why, like seriously, why would the Night King want to access the Crypts of Winterfell?
Okay. Who's ready for my Twitter thread?
Okay, here
I'm
we go.
so ready for your Twitter thread. Lay it down.
It
All right.
informed the entire thread that I made earlier today. So.
Yes, that was a very good thread. I like that one, Sam. Good job. So why does the Night King want to go down there? Because the same reason the Starks do. It's home. For the Starks, since they were little kids, the crypts are weirdly their playground. Like they play games, they run around like most kids would run around in like the gods would, or in the hallways or the Great Hall or something like that. But no, Starks go down to the crypts because the crypts is home. It's where their family's been for thousands of years past. And all the hints are with the others that they came not only from the Starks, not like House Grey Stark or the Karstarks, a splinter branch, but literally came from the Starks of Winterfell. Old Man says it to Bran, where she says, mayhaps he was a Bran and mayhaps he slept in this very room. And that's probably true. And if you look at it from that perspective, the others, they want to get down there for the same reason everyone else does. His family's down there, his parents, his brothers, his sisters, ancestors.
I have a theory.
Go.
Bran the Builder caved in the crypt so that the Night King couldn't get to the Night Queen.
Oh, there it is. Nailed it.
Nailed it. But no, sorry, Matt, go ahead.
Okay.
Finish your
So you continue why this makes sense beyond Old Nan's story is that we know that the Starks are conquerors. They have been for most of their time in the North. They were petty kings, and they just started killing everybody like Tywin Lannister style until the only people left in the North were the people that were loyal, plus kind of the Boltons. That was basically all that was left. Like the story of Theon Stark, the Hungry Wolf, when the Andals showed up on the eastern coast of the North, not only did they kill all the Andals, they then went to Andalos, found some towns and villages, sacked them, killed everybody, and put all their heads on spikes on the coast, saying, "This is the border of the North. You pass this, you're all dead." That's who the Starks used to be. And so, but they've made a dramatic transition in that time, much in the way we see with the Targaryens, especially in Fire and Blood. I mean, Fire and Blood is mostly about the women of House Targaryen and how important they are, but the other major message is that the Targaryens are trying to go away from Aegon and Maegor and become Jaehaerys, which the Starks have done successfully. They've convinced everybody they're not terrible conquerors that killed everybody. They're now everybody's best friends. But the others, when they come from the time when the Starks were still the hard men of the North, the cold men, the ones that would kill and destroy houses. So what they're doing in the North and what they're going to do to humanity is not out of line for House Stark, even though we know them very differently from their current incarnations. Whew. Twitter thread.
Whew. I do have a question about that though, because if so they want to go home, right?
Yeah.
Let's say that that's their motivation. I mean, are you suggesting that they're going to go to Winterfell and no further? They're just going to go home and that's going to be it?
No, the conquerors don't stop,
right?
But they want their home back first. We see that being an important part of quite a few characters. Theon wants to go home. Asha wants to go home and rule. Tyrion, especially, his first thing he says to Dany is, "You know what we need to do? We need to hit Casterly Rock." Like that's not really a good idea. That's kind of a personal thing, and that stuff happens all the time in Westeros.
Yeah. Yeah, because I can't imagine they're very sentimental about home, because I don't know that they have emotions. I think if that is the case and they want to go home, it's more of, I think, like a primal urges kind of thing. Like that's just driving them to go back there. And
like a migratory instinct.
Yeah.
Or even to get revenge and just wipe Winterfell off the face of the earth and keep moving, get rid of their painful past.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I love this idea so much, and I love your Twitter thread. And like I said, it definitely informed what after I read yours, Matt, and then I was watching the teaser again, and the whole thing about the statues. And we haven't quite gotten there yet, have we? Can I get into this?
You can go for it.
All right. So Sansa, Jon, Arya are all looking at statues of themselves to, I think you made a note, varying degrees of accuracy.
Yeah.
Because Jon's statue, I mean, that's a larger beard than I think that they're giving him credit for that he could ever grow. But, so yeah, varying degrees of accuracy. But I think even that has something to do with it, because my first thought when I looked at all three of them looking at statues of themselves, I mean, initially I was like, oh, Jesus, they're all going to die. But then I thought about it again and I was like, these are doppelgangers. They're confronted, like a doppelganger is, something that is not an exact look-alike, but so similar that maybe someone at first glance wouldn't notice that it wasn't the actual person. Mm-hmm. But a doppelganger is mostly always like evil or sinister. It always means is a harbinger of bad luck. And if the Starks are standing there looking at a sinister version of themselves, what could be more sinister than dead Starks coming back? And if the others, White Walkers, are in fact Starks, descended from the Stark line, and they're coming back to Winterfell, they're going to be confronted with that more, sinister version of themselves as a bloodline. So might be a little tinfoily, but that's just what,
the conquest part of themselves that they've tried and successfully literally buried in the crypts.
Yeah.
Like their history, they have people like I said, like Theon, but Theon, the Hungry Wolf, but then there's like Brandon Ice Eyes and Adric Snowbeard. It's like, and then you look at characters like the Nice King. Well, he's the king of night because the night is an endless winter. Therefore, he's the king of winter too, and just kind of goes back and forth. The language is right there if you want it. Also, I thought was important about the mist as we saw it rolling in and the icy stuff is that it was surrounding each of the statues. It was almost like going up to them and embracing them.
Yeah, it was kind of like it was enveloping them like as it moved. It wasn't just kind of like moving along the ground. Although we do see the feathers, the first thing. I think we already talked about this, but the feathers, the first thing that it hits and is frozen. But yeah, it definitely has that kind of embrace about it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what do you guys think?
So, about the statues, like at first I thought it represented death, not necessarily like, oh, this means Sansa, Arya, and Jon are gonna die. Not like that literal, but like they're looking at literal death. Like they're staring at their death. This is what happens when I die. But when that white mist comes and when the cold winds are rising, they know they have to fight that even while staring death in the face. And that took me a couple watches to get.
That's really.
It's very much. It reminded me seeing them all staring at their own quote unquote death. Reminded me very much of like A Christmas Carol.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Like the future, like they're all possible futures for the rest of the season, and they all have to confront their mortality and move past it in order to do what's necessary to survive and save the realm.
True. And there's also an important part about the Starks, what I was talking about, how the crypts are their playgrounds. They already know which tombs are theirs. Like Bran at one point points his out.
Yeah.
They all know where they're going to be buried. They all know where they're going. They're going to be in the crypts with the rest of their family. So I think because we like these characters, we see it as grim. But for them, it's not grim. It's the eventuality that the lone wolf dies, but the pack survives. They will be down there with the rest of the pack.
Yeah, and the whole thing about Gray, what you mentioned about how it's not like literal death, like maybe not their actual deaths, and it doesn't. This teaser doesn't mean in so many words that all three of them are going to die in the season because here's their statues that are going to be at their tombs. I definitely don't think the teaser would be that it would hit us over the head with it in that way. But I like how you said that it's just kind of like a personification of death, because that's what the Starks do for their dead, is they build these statues, and now the living Starks are staring at them. So they are literally staring death in the face. It's haunting.
It's also a sign of respect. The lords get the statues, all three of them. If they, I mean, we were talking about how this is mostly a Jon teaser, and it is. But Arya and Sansa getting statues in the crypts would be a huge deal.
This is not mostly a Jon teaser.
It's mostly Jon.
No.
It's mostly Jon.
I disagree.
Maddie's going in.
I think it was a Jon R plus L equals J with some Sansa and Arya visitors there. Mm-hmm. But it felt like Jon. It felt like it was about Jon.
I think that Lyanna was her own character, and so people attribute that to Jon and think that Jon got more of a spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
But
makes sense.
Well, I mean, if we're talking about, go ahead.
Them's my thoughts. Thanks, Jonquil. What's up? If we're talking about what?
Oh, well, have we mentioned that the like lowest levels of the crypts are like collapsed and we don't know what's down there yet?
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we did talk about that?
We've like skated around it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's super interesting because I think we're going to get to see what's down there. Because if I think
Dragon.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't think it's
Dragon.
Yeah,
Winterfell.
That old story about which dragon was it who laid a clutch of eggs at Winterfell? Was it Vermax?
Yeah.
Yep.
Vermax.
And Jace Velaryon.
Yep.
Actually a strong. But anyway.
But we can dismiss the claims of Mushroom.
Oh yeah, sure. Especially
yes.
when George is like, nothing about this is true. Ignore this. I'm just reporting rumors. Okay, George.
Yes, Valerians. We have dismissed these claims.
But yeah, there's multiple stories about the dragons under Winterfell. Besides the clutch of eggs, there's the story that the small folk from the Winter Town tell that there's a dragon heating the. Actually, this is a weird part of Winterfell. It has like piping with hot
Yeah.
water in it.
Yeah, the hot springs don't seem to like. Usually, a hot spring is like a location, like in the
Yeah.
ground where hot water is coming up through the ground. And I can't remember which
But in
chapter
canon,
it is.
they pipe. They're by it. They're under a hot spring, and they pipe the water through the castle.
Yeah, because
So that-
Kat says something about water running through the walls or something,
Like veins, like blood.
like veins. Yeah.
Which is weird because they shouldn't have plumbing, but Winterfell does.
See,
Anyway,
I didn't think that to mean like actual plumbing. I always thought it was some kind of weird thing about how this hot spring isn't just coming up from the ground, and it's actually somehow like working its way through the stone, like through the walls of Winterfell.
oh,
But-
interesting.
I'm just very disappointed that Winterfell doesn't have like a bathing house,
Well, it's got the
They
glass
don't-
a
gardens.
hot tub,
yeah.
a hot tub.
I just want the Winterfell bathhouse anime episode.
Right before the last episode, and everyone gets in their bathing suits and tries to peep over the.
But
little
don't
crack.
they use the black pool like a hot tub?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that it's warmer than the you're talking about in the Godswood,
Yeah,
right?
but it's creepy
Yeah.
because the tree's watching you.
Yeah.
Danza in a sauna. That's what I want.
Oh, they're probably gonna get in that pool. Sansa's gonna come
Danza-
out like a mom, like, "What are you two doing?"
No, not Daenerys. Danza.
Oh, I'm sorry, the wrong characters.
The ladies.
I ship it.
Yeah, I
We're all
definitely
into
ship it.
now.
I don't think John would mind. I think he's cool with it.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Was there
Um,
anything else we want to talk about? Oh, Mallory, go ahead.
I wanted to mention in defense of the statues because I'm an artiste, I guess. Um, it's really hard to carve stone, and it's really hard to carve likenesses. And I don't know if I think they're CGI, so that's kind of on the whoever did it. But I think it's supposed to like not 100% look like John. I think it's supposed to be like the stone builders kind of suck. It's talked about like they're like we have to find someone who knows what Ned looked like, so maybe we don't get to know what John looks like for very long or something, or all this. I don't know. I'm trying to defend him, but I'm failing. So
I actually thought the statue looked like from Fire and Blood, the picture of Cregan Stark. It looks so much like him.
Yes. Cregan Stark and Black Alley, a love story for the ages.
That was an interesting love story made on the a political deal.
Still one of my favorites from Fire and Blood.
That's true.
Yeah.
That was a pretty good. The Hour of the Wolf was great,
Yeah.
except for Unwin Peak. Fuck that guy. Fuck Unwin Peak.
Yeah.
What did you guys think about John walking into the crypts with the torch, like bringing the light into the darkness, like
Is he the light bringer? Oh
It-
my god!
he was the
It reminded
light
me. It reminded me very much of the cave scene.
bringer. Really?
Yeah.
The one on Dragonstone from season
Yeah.
7.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
I thought you meant Ygritte and John.
At first, I
Well-
did too. For a split second.
We're
Now
not
that
there
you
yet.
mention it. I'm sorry, that was a poor
No, it was
joke.
great.
But actually, it did remind me of the Dragonstone scene. I thought we were in Dragonstone for like a second.
Well, he
So.
is fire, carrying fire, going down into ice, or I mean, well, not really, but you know what I mean.
The ice is coming to him.
There you go.
Yeah.
You said it much better than I could.
I got you, B.
I'm on my second glass of wine, so maybe I'm just not making as much sense as I was.
You're
No, you're
doing
there.
good.
You're there. You're fine.
I mean, you got wine, but I got House Stark Scotch
Ooh.
or Scotch whiskey.
Fancy.
I know, so
Time
fancy.
for
Okay.
The
So I was
segment
In
Oh,
defense
sorry.
of Danza, please check the chat.
where- go ahead, Gray.
I was looking at some comments on my videos
Mhm.
earlier, and someone said that Jon, Sansa, and Arya, that scene reminded them of the three-headed dragon, but like the three-headed direwolf. And I kind of get that because I've been getting
Cerberus?
Ooh.
Sorry, continue. So I said Cerberus.
Yes, so I've been feeling like Arya does have those like Visenya-ish vibes. And I do believe
Mhm.
that in the books, she's gonna get Dark Sister. And I feel like the Cat's Ball was kind of like a stand-in for Dark Sister. But we get like way back in season 2, we got Arya talking with Tywin and like how she admired Visenya, or she admired both sisters. And Sansa reminds me a little bit of Rhaenys. And Jon, a lot of people say that Jon has a lot in common with, or that Daenerys has a lot in common with Aegon, and she does, but so does Jon.
Mhm.
So I thought that was interesting that they called him the three-headed direwolf.
That what you just said about John and Arya and Sansa possibly, parallels or being compared to Aegon and his sisters, I think was really cool, because one of my favorite people that I follow on Twitter, Grant at heathen_king, he posted a really funny tweet where he was like, so are we gonna mention that John standing there with his two sisters is like something like that, or are we just gonna sit on it? And I was like, huh. And it just, I just thought that was really clever and true, I think. So, and there's lots of other Targaryens that Jon is a parallel to, but I think the argument could be made that he's in some ways like Aegon, and Gray, like you said, there's lots of parallels, I think, between Sansa and Arya and the other two sister wives. So yeah, it works. I dig it.
I love
Makes
it.
sense. And there was another Aegon that gets a lot of talk about being like Jon is Aegon the Third, the
third.
Dragon's-bane.
Yeah.
Seems like very similar characters, but also Aegon the Conqueror himself, because we don't really know a lot about him, because apparently he seemed to be kind of a boring guy, kind of like Jon. He does a lot of brooding, just like tactical thought, and like we hear about Rhaenys and she loves singers and art and she made laws, and we hear about Visenya and how like brutal she was, and how tactically minded she was, and thinking about defense and protecting
And
the
how
realm.
she outlived everyone.
How she
Yeah,
outlived
she
everybody.
did.
But
Now
then
with your
Aegon,
Queen Visenya.
like,
Yep.
do we know anything about Aegon? Like, what was his favorite food? What did he enjoy doing? No
He
idea.
didn't. He was this. So I just did a video on this not that long ago about the parallels. So Aegon, his similarities with Jon are like crazy. I don't have them all in front of me, but I remember just reading it and I was like, "Dang, Jon checks that box. Jon
Mhm.
checks that box."
Gray, are you talking about Aegon the Conqueror or Aegon the Third?
Aegon the Conqueror?
Okay, all right.
And one of them was that he was really good with a sword, like a very skilled swordsman, but he never participated in tourneys or melees or anything like that. Like he didn't take any joy in it. And that's like a big thing that was shown about Jon last year. Like, I don't enjoy what I'm good at, when that whole thing at Dragonstone between him and Daenerys.
It's true.
Interesting.
I think it's in the World of Ice and Fire. It's in Fire and Blood too. So
Yeah. I think it's also said that while Aegon was thought of as a really great swordsman, he really never used it, because he did all of his battles from either behind Rhaenys and Visenya going out and doing it for him, or from Balerion's back. And Jon, I think Ramsay checked this during the Battle of the Bastards. She's like, "You're an amazing swordsman." It's like, is he? Or is that just kind of like a reputation?
I don't know, kind of like how Rhaegar was an amazing jouster or whatever, but like also people who jousted against princes were afraid to win or die.
They took
Yeah,
falls
Rhaegar was
quite a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, which one is it?
I mean, you're going to talk up Aegon the Conqueror, especially the people that were writing Fire and Blood. You got to... The guy just roasted Harrenhal. You're going to write good press about him kind of no matter what. And if you can't find anything nice to say, you're going to say nothing at all, which is kind of what happens.
Because a dragon will eat you. Yes.
True. That's true.
Yeah.
Did you... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, there was one last part to the teaser that we haven't gotten to, and that's the very end, when they turn to face the mist that has enveloped the tombs and have seemingly grasped the kings of winter. And then Jon and Arya turn around, they take out their swords, step in front of Sansa, and that's kind of where it ends. And I know you guys had some really interesting thoughts about that scene and kind of their placement and how their relationships to each other being shown there. Particularly about something about chess pieces.
Is this my section?
This is your section, Maddie.
Okay, cool. So when I first saw the trailer, I was immediately like, I was talking to my friend Clint, who's very good. He's also a Lyanna stan. We bond. And he was like, I think it's interesting that Sansa didn't fight and I think that means that Jon and Arya will die. And I was like, no. Jon is a knight and Arya is a rook, and they're protecting their queen. Because George works in chess metaphors, and chess is a war game. And if my mouse will work, I have kind of broken it down for you. So Sansa, obviously as the queen, she is on that board. She is the most powerful piece. It's often very important to note that a queen in chess is almost always a pawn that is promoted to a queen after the original queen is sacrificed, aka Cat or aka whoever, Lyanna. Insert queen metaphor here. She's always defended. She's occasionally sacrificed, and she is always essential to the end game, aka she brought Jon this far, and she will continue to push him to whatever end, or will be pushed to whatever end. And Jon as the knight is interesting. I didn't know much about knights when I was doing this research, but I found out they were equal to bishops, but more versatile, which works for Jon. They work best with an outpost or home base, i.e. Winterfell, i.e. Castle Black, but they are more powerful later in the game and can rise to become the decisive piece in either side, which I think is super valid. And rooks Arya is the rook. Rooks are really interesting because originally in the first forms of chess, they were a chariot, right? So chariots are independently moving. They're symbols of destruction on the battlefield. They're kind of like free for all, one man, like just go ham and crazy and just kill everything in your path. They're a warpath piece, essentially. And a function in chess, rooks are interesting because they can castle, which means they're the only piece that can move simultaneously with another piece, which I think is a king, much like a faceless man. So that is my Stark says chess pieces argument that I'm going to push. Follow me on Twitter. I'll talk about it more.
It's going to be a good thread when she posts it.
I know nothing about chess. Like, I don't know. My dad tried to teach me how to play it when I was younger, and I'm just absolutely horrible at it. And one of the reasons is because I can never remember what piece does what. So I very much appreciate the breakdown. First of all, hopefully maybe I'll remember that. I don't know. The next time I'm playing chess in Central Park, I don't know. What would I need to do that for?
Hustle and tourists.
Yeah.
Remember, rooks can castle and knights are important.
That's all I need to know.
Pawns can become queens.
Okay.
The Littlefinger parallel.
Yep.
I thought this was great when you first said it, and it makes a ton of sense. George has written entire stories just about chess. That's it. The whole story is just about chess.
Yep.
And then in Song of Ice and Fire, he invented his own cooler chess, which he calls Saivas, which is basically the same game, but with more powerful pieces. The queens become dragons, I think, that kind of thing.
Elephants in there somewhere.
Yeah, it's all there. And although I doubt Dan and Dave were going for that with this teaser, it doesn't mean that the roles that George designed are wrong. This sounds exactly right, especially going into the Winds of Winter and picking up what he's probably already told them about where they're going and how they're going to interact, even if not explicitly in these terms. Spot on.
Thank you. Also, what's up? I'm going to shout out Azari Hype and Aziz, who are now here, and I just saw them in the chat. I love you both.
Hello.
I think I gave Aziz the link so he could jump in. Hang on, I'm going to send it to him. Yeah, you guys say something while I'm doing this. Sorry.
Press F to pay respects.
So when I first saw the mist coming, like first initial thought was Arya pulls out Longclaw, Arya pulls out Needle, John pulls out Longclaw, and to me, it's like they're kind of standing protectively in front of Sansa.
Yeah, they're protecting their queen.
Yeah, I got the same thing. I was like, they're protecting her.
But
Yeah,
but she has their back. Like she doesn't have. So they're in front of her on the front line, but she has their back because her weapon is the politics that she learned in King's Landing.
Yeah, she's a negotiator. She's a diplomat. She is the one that can fight when blades can't be drawn.
Yes.
And I think that's so important.
Is her mind her weapon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so.
I don't know. What do you think about that, Aziz? Oh wait,
Hey, Aziz!
Aziz.
Hello.
Oh, I appeared as if from nowhere.
It's the Aziz that was
Cool. Let's
promised.
check out my
He's
sweet
here.
onion night hat.
It's been
Cool there.
it's been so long since I've seen you, and even longer since I've seen you sober.
Who says I'm sober now?
Oh, well, I
Wow.
meant me, but
She has a box of wine.
Fair enough. All I have is a cylinder of coffee. It's not a box.
Cylinder?
nice.
Aziz is drunk.
There's nothing square about this.
Aziz
Nothing.
is drunk on coffee.
There's no corners on this thing.
No corners to cut.
Plenty to drink, but no. So, yeah.
How you feeling about doing your second teaser breakdown of the day?
Great. You know it. Yeah. Second
Coffee
teaser,
day.
second.
I'm on my second
coffee,
one too, if it's any
second
consolation.
hat. I've got. Oh hell yeah!
Sorry, very
That's
quickly.
how we roll around.
Gray
here.
area apparently has to jump out.
Okay, bye,
Oh,
Grace.
bye, Grace.
Thanks for coming, Gray.
We love
Team.
you.
Thanks for
Bye,
watching.
Grace.
Thanks for talking, Aziz. I'm sorry you didn't get here sooner. I gotta go.
Wow.
Me too, apparently. We'll just trade places here.
You guys have a good night. Nice talking to you. See you later.
Bye, darling.
See ya,
Bye,
Gray.
Gray.
Bye, baby.
All right, so now, so you're gonna get the juice to get people through the long night, like Gray.
Oh yeah. That's right. That was pretty juicy. I think that was, we've had these teasers before, but I think this was a particularly good one. Like other ones were just kind of random, when they just do stuff that's not in the show, and they make up their own thing. It's, that has mixed results. But this one was pretty cool because it hit a lot of different symbolism. It hit a lot of different feels. So
It's exactly what I needed as a fan after that Danny bullshit. There,
yeah,
said it.
okay.
Sorry.
Right on.
Maddie has
Tired.
phones.
Which Danny bullshit
Yeah.
are you referring to? Because there's lots of it.
The ship war Danny bullshit.
Oh
The
God.
specifically Danny and Sansa bullshit that I am not here for.
Oh.
Okay.
From
Yeah,
the first trailer. Yeah.
That is definitely not. We definitely didn't need that.
Yeah.
Feel like, okay, so you manufactured a silly conflict with Sansa and Arya last season, so now you're gonna do
So
that.
now it's Sansa and Danny,
No.
of course. It's not like we called this a
on.
year ago or anything.
Well, I think we
Yeah.
know for sure that they end up solving their conflict at some point, because did we talk about Danny and Sansa's hair
yeah.
and the similarities there?
Oh my god.
Not yet.
Okay.
So-
We did not talk about the hair. It's a
Okay.
hair talk.
That's,
Can I?
I think that means something. Yeah.
I
Can
think so
I?
too. Sorry.
Can I? I'm gonna.
Oh,
okay, so
sure.
I'm a-
Go ahead, Maddie.
Well,
I'm a
I think
cosplayer.
Maddie's ready to go here.
I am a cosplayer, so this is what I do. Specifically, I cosplay season 7 Daenerys, so I am a master at her hair, which is very specifically Dutch braids. And when like the second the trailer came out, I was like, Sansa has Dany hair. And this is really cool for a lot of reasons, mostly because she's never done Dutch braids before. But her whole shtick is usually French braid, like very much more of like a Cersei vibe. I have this theory where Sansa adopts the personalities of the people she's trying to either work with or work against or admire or be more like. Like
There was
here
an
is
interview, I think, of a couple of maybe 2-3 years ago or so, where she actually said that Sansa like models hairstyles after those that she's let me think of the exact wording. Learning from, mimicking, or impressed by. I think
Yes.
is exactly what it was.
Yes, that is
So-
exact. Okay, so I've never read that before, but that's always what I've like thought about as a cosplayer, noticing the way that she styles her hair when she styles her hair that way. So the second I saw Sansa in Dutch braids, I was like, it's over. It's over. And
What if she shaves her head? What are we
Whoa.
supposed to?
What if
that's-
Sansa walks out of the pyre?
I would
She's like,
I would love
she
that.
starts looking like Varys. I'd be worried.
She starts looking at some fires.
I'm very into that. I understand that you are not, but I am super here for it. So
Okay.
Starts wearing those curtains.
yeah. So like
Exactly.
well, she already wears French sleeves, right? Like that's her whole thing. That's a Cersei thing. So that's a Sansa thing in the earlier seasons. Now
Yeah.
she's back in the north and she's being more northern, so she's got more of the cropped sleeve. But I digress. I'm sorry. I think way too much about this.
Well, you can hide more
girl,
lemon cakes in those other sleeves, right?
Yeah.
Girl, I could have an entire like separate podcast talk with you about fashion and hair and what it
Yep.
means for.
Can we actually do
Yeah.
that? I'm Michelle
Yes.
Clapper's
Night's
biggest
cast.
fan.
Do it.
Okay, cool. So basically what I picked up on through all of this is that Dany's hair is loosening. It's more resembling Sansa. Like she's got that nice braid at the end of season 7, but she's undoing the braid. She's letting her hair down a little bit because she's trying to be less laced up and tight. Whereas Sansa, sorry, is becoming more like Dany and also more like Lyanna, I would say, because so many people messaged me when the first pictures of her hair dropped and were like, "Oh, she has a Lyanna style," and I was like, "No, that's a Dany style." But they are very similar because that braided sort of bun situation, half up, half braided bun thing, is very much a Lyanna thing as well. So I'm very, very happy about her braids. Anyway, that's all. Come to my TED Talk.
Disputed
Yeah.
Lands or Amanda in the chat is talking about how those braids usually mean victories.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, the
Absolutely.
Dothraki.
And Sansa won a huge victory. She won the Battle of the Bastards. Jon kind of sucked his way through it.
Yeah, Sansa earned her. Also, like with the Dothraki, Sansa earned her victory, and Jon gets a dumb man bun. Yep. Yep.
No braids for you. You get the hipster
No.
hairstyle.
Yeah, people were talking about how his statue looked kind of older, but I was thinking that he himself looked older.
He looks old
which
now.
was-
Yeah.
they made that was got to be intentional. They're making him like kingly, and maybe more like what a person who's been resurrected and frozen should look like.
Ooh.
I don't know what that
And-
should look like, but
Back on my dance,
Kinda freeze
Danza
dried.
bullshit. When she sees Jon and she meets Sansa, she's not thinking like, "Oh, this is Jon's sister." She's thinking, "Holy shit, that girl's hair is long. She's never been defeated." So
True.
Yeah.
One thing about I mentioned earlier, I don't know if you heard it, Aziz, where I said that Jon in that statue looks a lot like Cregan Stark from Fire and Blood. The pictures of him.
okay, I can kind of see that. Yeah.
Yeah, let me grab. I'm gonna grab my Fire and Blood real fast. One sec.
also,
makes
Stormy
sense.
said that Sansa had the same hairstyle last season. She had a similar hairstyle last season. She was using French braiding technique, whereas this season she's now in Dutch braiding technique, which is Dany's thing historically, costumically. So yes,
I draw a lot of their hair.
Costumically,
A
that
lot.
is a new word that
Thanks.
I like.
got you, Aziz.
Yeah,
I
like
draw a
new
lot of
words.
their hair a lot. So
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I definitely that stood out to me immediately. And in my head, I was like, that means they're friends. They taught each other different braids, and it's all gonna be okay. Jon can have a sister and Dany, and they won't fight. Yay! And then Sorry,
Yeah.
Are you gonna draw?
saw-
Are you gonna draw bald Sansa?
I'm trying, but
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm not
It's-
nailing
Alright.
her head.
Hang on,
Balsa.
I got the picture of Cregan.
There we go.
Okay, yeah.
Looks a lot
that
like him,
is-
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm,
beefy
beardier.
boy.
And, yeah.
A
I
beefy
see- I
boy.
see it.
Bigger beard, bigger mustache.
Yeah.
for
And
sure.
Especially because
uh,
Cregan in that picture, he's like only like 25, I think. He's really young.
Yeah, he's
That's a
he's
hard
youngish.
25, dude.
That's a northern 25.
That is a northern
Actually,
25.
he's
You
younger
gotta
than
let
that. Isn't he
you
like
gotta let your
21,
shag
22?
fly when you're.
That's a
king
northern
in the north.
25.
That's the 25 of a guy that's come down to the Seven Kingdoms to start a war with nobody who wants to fight anymore.
Like
The wolves are here to
Like-
fight for their dragon queen.
They're like,
wolves
war's
are
over,
like,
bro.
"I'm
preferable to
tired."
just staying home.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah. They're like, would you rather go back home, or would you rather fight in a war? They're like, war is definitely better than home
North.
right now. The North, it's really bad.
It's cold.
Yeah,
The North did suck at that
I
point.
like that. There were a lot of. I like how there's a lot of these really long winters back in Westerosi history that are just.
Mara
Like,
Jade, you're
damn.
correct. It was definitely more of a Cersei vibe last season. Sorry. We're still talking here in the chat.
Oh,
even,
the hair.
even I noticed that one. Yeah.
And John even says to Sansa when Sansa's talking about Cersei at one point, and wait, is this season 6 or 7? I might be mixing up my
7.
seasons.
That was
Okay,
7, yeah.
but
Yeah.
he's like, you sound almost like you might admire her. And the thing that I love about that scene is that Sansa is not like, well, no, I don't. She goes,
She's just like,
I learned a great deal from her. Like she
Yeah,
takes a
like-
pause. It's not a no. It's not a no. But
it's not a no.
Yeah, she learned from Littlefinger too. That doesn't mean she
Yeah, she's about to get
admires
a
him.
little goatee.
she's not gonna grow a goatee.
She can admire
Okay, so
someone
bald
without
with a goatee. That's what she needs now.
Yeah. She can admire someone without respect, without like liking them or thinking they're correct. Yeah. That's how
Yeah,
that's how war goes, right? You
Yeah.
admire the generals that get victories even if you hate them.
Yeah, and we have a lot of that about just fandom too. Like, I love Victorian chapters, but like obviously I don't like Victorian the person.
I like
I'm not
Victorian
I
a
wish
whole
he was
lot
here
more
and
than
yeah.
I like Victorian a whole lot more than Euron and Tyrion. So
Okay, fair enough.
Or,
fair
or
enough.
I'm not a-
Jamie,
I'm not
who
a-
I would like to shove out a tower, but he's a
I
fascinating
am
character arc.
not a book I'm not a book Tyrion fan, I'm a show Tyrion fan, so I've like struggled a lot. Rip.
That's fair.
Anyway,
That's fair.
yeah, after the
Yeah.
Penny shit, I was done. I was like, you fuck with Penny, you're canceled. Goodbye.
Canceled on Tyrion. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
Tyrion
Tyrion
was
goes real
canceled.
dark.
Yeah. But God, Peter Dinklage is just so compelling that I can't hate him on the show.
Actually,
if I want to.
that's something I was thinking about with this teaser. We haven't really seen any of the Lannisters kind of at all so far in anything.
We're keeping them
And
under
they were,
wraps. Good point.
yeah, Cersei, Jaime, Tyrion, none of them are in the trailers, none of them are in the teasers. We see the flaming lion from the other teaser, but that's not a character. That's just
No.
like the house going up in flames, which kind of everybody thought. So
Yeah.
they're giving us
And
a lot of the
somebody-
Starks and Dany.
somebody
Where's everyone
made-
else?
Somebody on when we were on Watchers, when we posted about that 5 seconds of new footage, and somebody was like, because one of the things is Tyrion is conspicuously absent from that scene. I know we're digressing from the teaser, sorry. Jorah is at Dany's side, like he's presenting himself as her hand, like, where's Tyrion? And everyone, like, somebody was like, might not be the best idea for a Lannister to appear in the North, like, right away. Gotta, give
Super
them a chance
agree.
gotta give them a chance
Yeah.
to work into that. And I was like, yeah.
He's just like, yo, Sansa, sup? We still
Yeah.
married?
I'm really interested in the reception Jaime's going to receive at Winterfell.
Oh. Do you think Bran's going to forgive him? Because he kind of got Littlefinger killed.
I think so. I think that Bran. I don't think Bran is capable of forgiveness, but I think that Bran is not Bran enough to even acknowledge that he was wronged. So,
Yeah, he didn't
since
seem
you-
to care.
Sorry, Aziz, did I interrupt you?
No, I was just agreeing, saying, yeah, he doesn't seem to care.
yeah.
Yeah. I think, I don't know if we've touched on this yet, but the fact that there is no Bran in the trailer when all the other living Starks are there presenting this united front. I mean, I don't know if it's obvious. I'm not going to call it obvious. I'm doing air quotes with my paws. I don't know if you can tell.
Paw quotes. You're doing paw quotes.
Paw quotes? What is
I'll
that?
do paw quotes with you. We're doing paw quotes now.
We're out.
Anyway.
The paw to hand ratio
Yeah.
here is disturbing.
Yeah. Anyway, so I don't know if this is obvious, but I like to think that it's kind of obvious that Bran is not a Stark anymore. Bran is not really anything anymore except the three-eyed raven. So they're showing us the three Starks, living Starks, again, presenting this united front. People are like, oh, where's Bran? Bran doesn't really think of himself as a Stark anymore. And frankly, neither do I. And I don't think any viewer should really, because he's just so fully become the three-eyed raven. And the whole thing about forgiveness is there's not really a question of forgiveness or anything for him, because that's kind of so not beneath, but so far removed from what he is now.
Yeah, he's just dimensionally in like a whole other realm.
He's like a carrot, basically.
It's like a talking carrot.
Yeah, he's just a carrot they wheel around. He touches the trees, and
Bran is a carrot. Go.
I was gonna say, tell me this next drawing is
Bran
a carrot.
Let me finish Aziz's mustache.
Whoa.
Can you give Aziz Dutch braids?
Ooh, for his victories.
Speaking of, I wonder if that's something Tyrion will notice. Tyrion will be like, "Hey, your hair looks like Cersei's." Like, what the hell? It's like, maybe I don't want to remarry you. I mean, I don't want to fire that back up.
I hope that's somehow on the table where Tyrion like awkwardly like, how's it going? Been a while.
Why do you? He's like, how's it going? Yeah. Why do you look like Cersei? What's going on?
Oh, how are things?
Yeah.
So
fancy meeting you here.
I feel like it's going to be such an awkward reunion between the two of them.
Awkward.
Been a long time.
Yeah.
I will say though, I think controversial take. I do think Bran kind of enjoyed killing Littlefinger in his own way. Like
he absolutely did.
There was when he said chaos is a ladder and looked him right in the eyes. That was personal. I would say.
Yeah, because I know there is enough of Bran because he sees everything Littlefinger's done through the weirwood, and he judges him. And I think that even if he isn't considered a Stark, he's still very much
an arbiter.
An arbiter, and also like Sansa and Arya were his sisters once. And
he still has this goal, right, of saving humanity, and Littlefinger's not helping. He's stirring up chaos.
Exactly.
No, he's not.
When they're about to fight the final battle, that dude needs to go. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Bottom line.
Yeah.
I was rewatching the scene today where oh my god, that's Bran the carrot.
Holy crap, that's amazing.
Carrot.
I'm
Bran.
not gonna lie, I was envisioning more of a carrot in a wheelchair. Kind of like a slug creature.
He's full root here. I mean, he's really
wow.
He's part of the werewood in a way.
Not that I don't love it. It's amazing.
Yeah. I love the little rudimentary hands you gave him, like a shrimp. He's like a shrimp. Yeah.
Poor little Bran. Oh my god.
That's amazing.
Sam, you're definitely muted.
Okay.
I was gonna say, please put the drawing on full view real quick, so everyone just can get one more look at the at Bran the carrot.
There we go.
Here's Carrot Bran A.
These in his braids. Holy shit.
Oh my god. Carrot in the wheelchair. Jesus.
I'm so happy.
That reminds me of that old episode of SpongeBob SquarePants where it's like the little old shriveled lady, whatever she's supposed to be, in her wheelchair.
Chocolate. I remember when they invented chocolate. I hated it.
I hated it. I feel like Bran would also be ambivalent on chocolate.
You wouldn't care about chocolate at all.
From the chat, Abraham says that is the thing that came out of Arya.
Oh, yeah.
Someone else.
Carrot Bran crawled out.
That looks like Chet from Weird Science.
It kind of looks like the really tall guy from
his full cut.
Jaws from James Bond and at that Adam Sandler movie, the really tall dude. He looks like that guy. I don't know that
yeah.
Chin and some Squidward.
Oh my god.
Okay, sorry, I derailed the stream.
It's the first carrot I've ever seen with a chin.
They're very majestic.
It's a rare chinned carrot. Yeah.
He's a very, very
That
strong
shit with
chin
the
for a
face.
carrot.
Yes,
This has
Bernie.
been- This has been
Wait,
really
wait,
fun.
Mallory, go back.
Where?
Right
Here?
there.
What the?
That's Sansa's new identity.
Wow.
Well,
I can't fucking breathe.
That is
Oh my
straight
God.
out of the 80s. That's some
That
sort
looks
of
like Shazam.
it is Shazam.
Wow.
It's a genie. It's definitely a genie.
Doesn't he have like a little hair thing or something?
Yeah.
oh the hair.
There we go.
Oh my God. Okay.
I will grant you 3 Winterfells.
That makes him look like the Gerber baby.
Yeah, it's getting weird.
Oh, it's getting weird?
Yeah.
It wasn't already weird?
No,
No,
this was
normal
normal
before
for my
that,
channel.
Okay.
This is
All
my
right.
first time on, so I don't know what's weird or not. I don't know
Me
if
s-
all of this is normal or
I'm
or
a
what.
disaster. So
Me same.
She's having a night.
just
Oh God. Oh, I'm fine.
So anyway, teaser.
Yeah. Teaser. Let's get back on track.
We have
I really
derailed.
I really thought the genie in the crypt was a nice touch.
Yeah.
And when they showed that statue of Lord Carrot Stark, I really just
Handsome Squidward Carrot Stark.
it was foreshadowing for sure.
Just brought it all home.
Yep.
The rare mix of House Gardner and House Stark, the carrot.
Heyo.
Wow. Kissed by fire, am I right?
I went there.
Mhm.
Just like the carrot. Oh, God damn it, carrot brand.
I am so glad this is recorded for posterity, so someday
Yeah,
I
lots
can
of
show
people
this.
will watch this.
Yeah.
I'm
This
so
is-
sorry, future viewers.
Okay, Bonafide. I think you need to Google handsome Squidward right now because that's a thing. That is a legitimate
I
character.
know,
I
I
know.
know handsome Squidward.
I know.
But Bonafide doesn't. So everybody shame
Oh.
Bonafide into looking up handsome Squidward right now.
I know handsome Squidward.
Yeah.
Oh my
I'm a
God.
genie in the crib, baby. Gotta rub me the wrong way, honey. Yes, Bernie.
Oh, wow.
I love you, Bernie.
Keep
Lord
on
Carrot
keeping on.
Stark.
Okay.
That was also
Teaser.
the song that was playing during the teaser, I think.
Teaser,
right?
teaser,
Yes.
teaser.
Yeah. It's interesting that it's not any new music yet, although I guess we're probably not
yeah.
going to get that until an actual trailer.
Oh, I
But-
have music thoughts.
Oh, go
Okay.
ahead.
So I was talking in Castle Slack with Lindsay Romaine, who writes
Mhm.
for Nerdist and other places, and we were like, "Oh, that's a weird child singing. What is
Oh
going on?"
yeah.
And she went, "Oh, that just reminded me of the Danny fetus," and I was like,
Oh,
"Yep, there it is."
D-
All
and
for
so we don't think it has anything to do with the children of the forest?
That was my
No.
thought, but I think that keeping it in the Stark narrative, it makes more sense for it to be the fetus that was promised.
Yeah, I actually I didn't notice that at first. And when Petra and I were recording, when I did my first episode or teaser breakdown of this a few hours ago with Petra, she mentioned the children's voices, and that initially I thought maybe Children of the Forest, but then she was like, a lot of people think that it's going to be the fetus that was promised, which
Sure.
I have my own thoughts about,
Right.
about Danny and John having a baby, and I'm not a fan, but I know that that's where they're taking us anyway, so I just have to reconcile myself with that fact. But
I understand. I like the tragedy of her only being able to have a child with another Targaryen.
Oh.
It sucks.
oh yeah.
It's all messed up.
It'd
But
be amazing if John isn't shooting blanks, considering he's literally undead.
yeah.
That's a whole nother question.
Does the old carrot still function?
Oh,
Is it a limp carrot or?
So that is
It's a boiled carrot. Yeah.
if you recall, that is a question that Stephanie Meyer answered when she wrote her hit series Twilight.
Oh no.
listen, I can tolerate a lot of other distractions in this live stream, but no talk of Twilight will pollute this.
Yeah, no Twilight. That's off
I agree.
limits.
I shall
Carrots
say
are where we draw the line.
I think it'd be really funny if that's like the scene right after Tyrion walks away, and like Danny's just like trying to like, what happened? What's wrong? Anyway, I think there was a good question from the chat from
Yeah.
John Quill Dark, who's on fire. Can we
Yes.
talk about John's crypt dreams in reference to the trailer?
I would love to.
Yeah.
This is something I know Aziz knows a ton about too.
Yeah, it's a cool. It's definitely been really important for a long time because it's the Crypts were introduced basically right away in Game of Thrones, and as we know, Game of Thrones used to be a much smaller project in George's mind. It used to be a 3-book thing, so basically, those really early story elements are part of what he's envisioned for the whole time, even as he's expanded the story. So they're going to be important. And it's cool that we're getting to it. We're getting to this to see what he told the showrunners in that sense. And then, of course, we're going to get some of their own imaginings as well thrown in there. So, it's cool because it's both it's really neat that it's a place that both foreshadows and gives history at the same time. And George already likes to use history to foreshadow. It's kind of a double whammy. And that's really fun. We get to think about like bloodlines and whether the Starks have connections to the others or what connection they have to the others, and as well as thinking about ancient Starks like Brandon the Builder. Is Brandon the Builder down in the crypts, for
Probably,
example?
yeah.
Like, is he one of them?
If he's not
buried
the
in there?
weirwood.
Like, yeah. So there's all these interesting questions that probably we can't get straight answers on, but then we also get to think about, are the others going to come through the crypts and attack Winterfell that way? So there's just so many great plot lines. It's Jon's identity. It's the final battle. It's climactic for so many different reasons. So yeah, there's just so much richness to the crypts in general that I thought it was a great choice by them to do the teaser, in addition to the way they did it. So
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a reason why they set the teaser in the crypts and not just, the 3 remaining Starks at the gate of Winterfell or on the battlements or something. I think it had to be in the crypts, and it's marvelously effective.
Is that something you guys talked about before I got here, whether or not there would be literal fighting in the crypts?
I only touched on it. We did not get into what will actually happen down there. So yeah, that's definitely a
fun thing to weigh in on. Yeah.
In me and LML's crypt thing, we definitely talked about maybe the dead bursting out of the stone, or somehow, or somebody cracking the tombs. If Bran knows that Benjen stopped from becoming a white by shoving dragon glass in his heart, maybe Jon, as a last ditch measure, as the others are approaching, says, "Get down to the crypts. There's tons of bodies down there. Start shoving dragon glass in their chests, just in case."
Yikes. Yeah, I mean, we have this whole idea of, since we're talking about Jon, trying to relate this to Jon's dream. Yeah, the crypts flying open. You said that's a pretty telling.
with the kings that follow him and move.
And I like that they did that, though, because we don't see any of that on the show. That's a book thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
it's nice that they tied that in.
Yeah, the dreams are all very different. That's one of the things that changed a lot from book to show is it's just hard to do the dreams and have the things that you want to be focused on get focused on, because George gets to describe it's supposed to be this swirling mass of chaos and a million things are happening at once, but George gets to write the thing that matters, and you see that for the House of the Undying. But so yeah, the visual medium, it's the opposite problem. You have too many things on screen, you can't possibly just show the one thing that George wants you to focus on. So yeah. Right. It's weird. Normally it's the problem of not being able to show anything visually, and then it's oh wait, actually there's too much. So yeah, that's kind of a quirk of dreams, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
They're so important, but they can't be shown.
That's the benefit of POV chapters versus having to show it on screen, like you said. So.
Right.
Yeah. It's one of the challenges. It's sincerity, right? We have the sincerity of characters is also always a question on TV, but where in the books it's hey, we saw inside their head. We know this is a sincerely held belief. We know they're not lying,
right?
Or whatever. There's always in the TV show, there's always doubt because well, you could be lying,
because you're not.
You could be acting.
Yeah.
It's like how there's not a sarcasm font for Twitter.
True.
Yeah.
And there should be.
And those kind of things probably won't matter as much now when it's just all final battle-y and everything, although maybe it still will with the Lannisters. Like you said, they haven't been really, we don't know that we haven't been teased much about them, well, really anything about them. There might be some internal conflict there that's a lot more relevant than any, Danza business, hopefully.
Hey, Danza forever.
Yeah.
Dance if I've ever.
Oh my gosh. I am now drawing Bran Carrot as Charles Xavier.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, the X on there. It's really.
Oh my god.
I'm
Relatable
sorry.
Well, then he has to be bald, or maybe
was
this is
debating
before he
that.
lost his hair.
And he needs a sprout coming out of his head.
Yeah.
Who knew
The
that
weird
theme
with
would
going
keep
into
coming
it.
back?
I love it.
The tiniest weirwood tree.
Yeah. Perfect.
I'm so sorry.
Never apologize.
And
But
there's
I
a
super-
baby.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I super
The little
keep those,
carrot head.
because I have to go stream somewhere else.
Yep. Has to go stream video games.
But I'm gonna go play video games on Twitch. I'm gonna drop the link in the chat. Also follow
Go
me
for
on Twitter, because I love you all and you're very fun to talk to.
Mhm.
May the force be with you, and I will see
And
everybody on
also with you.
Wow. It happened.
Yes.
what I'm here for. I was also Episcopalian.
Catholic.
Yep.
Dude.
Yep.
All right. Well, enjoy everybody. I hope to catch up on the rest of the conversations that happen and ensue.
Especially the
Twitter.
bald carrot related conversations.
Especially related content. Remember, Danza 5 ever.
Thanks for coming back. I just had really one more thought about the John Quill Dark's thing about the dreams and the crypts in particular, that a lot of people think that John is going to find out his true parentage down there. It was kind of hinted in this when he walked by Lyanna, and like I talked about, where the feather drops and he sort of turns and looks at it, and like, I don't really know what that was, but I'm going to sort of keep going. So I don't know. There's been lots of theories that maybe there's something in Lyanna's crypt. Maybe Rhaegar's harp is a popular one, her wedding cloak. There was a good one from about Rhaegar's signet ring that came out in the last year. That was a good
That was Natalie.
Natalie, that's right. That was Natalie's. It was really
that was
good.
a really good one.
John thinks a lot about the crypts in the books, like a lot, like more than most things. And it's really important to him, especially his dreams when he goes down there and he feels unwelcome. The kings basically turn and say, "Get out, scrub." So
They don't want no scrubs.
yeah, that he's returning to the crypts is actually a fairly big deal. And especially to actually get a statue in there, because I think I don't think there's ever been a bastard that's gotten a statue in Winterfell, and the only non-lord really has been like Artos Stark and Lyanna Stark. So if John actually gets a statue down there, that would be a pretty big sign of what he did for the Starks themselves.
Yeah. Especially because as we know, he's half Targaryen, and that kind of big revelation, because aside from Dany, everyone in Westeros thinks all the the Targaryens are gone. To know that there is not only another one but a male heir is like, might be, I'm not going to say it's overshadowing his Stark blood, but that's just kind of just such a big bombshell.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
John has, and we know this again from his crypt dreams and everything else, he's so drawn to the crypts. And I think it is because he so desperately wants to be a Stark, that I think it's absolutely, I would put money on it that, like you guys said, he is going to find out his parentage down in the crypts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where him
I
and
would
Bran
agree.
are going to have their talk. And you know what? I'm thinking about this too. Maybe it isn't even going to be Bran telling John. Maybe it's going to be
Probably not, yeah.
Sam telling John. I think it's going to be Sam breaking the news.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too, because that's who, like,
They have a better
Bran-
relationship.
Yeah, Bran isn't like a communicator anymore. He's just he's a vessel almost.
Yeah.
Like we were.
Although he did
talking
say,
about
I
earlier.
need to talk to
Carrot.
John.
Darkness.
A carrot.
Sam's his buddy. Yeah, Sam's
Yeah.
the one that could. Yeah, that's the one he's bonded with. They chose each other as friends. It's not even really suggested really that Bran and John were all that close to begin with. I mean,
No, not really.
I mean, not like they were not close. Not like they were like not close, but they
Yeah.
were. They weren't close in age, and that's how boys are, right?
Yeah.
That's usually John was hanging out with Rob. That
John's
was
favorite siblings were
Theon
Arya and John. I mean, and Rob,
and
sorry.
Yeah, and Arya was the younger one that was tagging along. Bran was significantly younger than that, even. So, yeah, just that's just the way it works out.
I do
Yeah.
think that
And-
the first chapter. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go. You go ahead.
I was gonna say the only real John Brand moment that sticks out to me is when John tells him not to look away, and I can't remember if that's also in the books or if it's just
It
in
is.
the show. Okay,
Yeah, it is.
Because that's a really good line. I like.
Well,
that.
and then
That's
when-
like, go
When
ahead.
John says goodbye to Bran before he's
Yeah.
leaving for the wall, even though he's still in his coma and can't hear him, like John probably knows that and still wants to make sure that he does that, even with Catelyn Stark, glaring at him and breathing down his neck the whole time, telling him to
Definitely.
leave. So
Yeah, they definitely had some kind of bond, like absolutely more than he had with, say, Sansa or
Rickon.
Rickon, who was just
Yeah.
too young. Yeah, but it was clear that Robb and definitely Arya were the ones that he was closest to, and Bran was like, yeah, that's my brother, and they liked each other, but they couldn't like go hunting together and things like that. But yeah, so that's pretty big too. But yeah, and I definitely agree. There's other things that foreshadow John finding his parentage down there. We have the metaphor of from both Fire and Blood and World of Ice and Fire of an egg hatching below Winterfell,
Definitely.
and that metaphor was used in the Sworn Sword. Daemon II Blackfire, dreams of an egg hatching at White Walls, and that egg turns out to be egg. Right,
Yeah.
revealing having his identity revealed. So it's this, hey, I'm actually a Targaryen. Bah, bald. Hey, I shaved my head instead of. Well, John doesn't have the features to hide. So, how convenient.
How nice for him.
Yeah, how nice he didn't actually look like a Targaryen. Whoops, sorry about that.
It'd be a much different story if Ned just somehow just insisted that John's head stay shorn at all times. Like he ordered the servants.
He's got to be bald.
What's up with
100%.
that? He started this new tradition for all Northern Bastards. He's like, all Northern Bastards, just to conceal it. It's like he just made it a decree across all the North.
Your
Also
head
invented
must shine like the
sunglasses.
snow.
Yep.
And all the hair will be collected and made into hats for winter. Because
like locks of love.
I don't know. Yeah, locks of love. It's another way for bastards to be mistreated in the North. They even take our hair from us.
I mean, that's actually a good point. That John really doesn't look like a Targaryen. Will probably be a big stumbling block, even if it becomes known that Rhaegar and Lyanna married. Like, who actually knows that? John doesn't even look like a Targaryen. Are you sure? I mean, that's a big plot point in a lot of Fire and Blood. Like the fact that the Rhaenyra's kids don't look like Targaryens is a huge stumbling block.
Yeah,
the seed is Strong's.
Yeah.
See what I
Ah,
Actually, that's something me and Amanda are going to write about. Strongs.
What's that? Oh, the Strongs. Yeah, that's
it's
a wonderful parallel situation there.
It's going to be a cool idea. But I mean, and we talked about it earlier, it probably won't mean that much for John, other than maybe he won't bone Dany anymore, but maybe he will because Targaryens do that. So I don't know.
Targaryens
it's weird.
are special.
Yes, exceptionalism.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that's going to come up, the exceptionalism in Winds of Winter, because like with Aegon maybe taking control or whatever, that's gonna. I don't know. That's kind of off topic, but I wonder how that's going to play out. It's going to matter a little bit in Game of Thrones too, obviously for Dany and Jon. But
you act like the faith still exists in the show.
That's true. They don't. You're right. There's no faith to appease anymore.
No, they're
White
gone.
Walkers are going to be really pissed though. They're going to be like, "Oh, this just will not do. We
Meanwhile,
cannot stand for this."
Everyone
That's the real
points at
reason they're
Craster.
invading, to put a stop to incest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're hypocrites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, anyone have final thoughts about the teaser before we get out of here? It's been a bit longer than I thought it would be, but good conversation.
I wasn't expecting it. I know that there was, some rumblings, rumors that we would get a teaser, or we'd get a trailer or whatever, but I didn't think we would be that lucky because we just got, the snippet of actual new footage a week ago. So I didn't think that we would be so lucky. And Aziz, I think you mentioned that this one is really it's kind of juicy because it's not just this one carries a lot of weight. It has a lot of meaning. There's really deep symbolism there for what we might be able to expect in season 8. And because I was so focused on getting the premiere date and I was really excited. And when the screen immediately didn't just go to that, like a whatever gimmick they were going to try and do that time. Thank God they didn't do a melting block of ice again.
Yeah, I would have taken longer for one thing.
I was so pleasantly surprised. I literally was standing in front of my TV going, Like I couldn't,
Mhm.
I didn't think it was possible for me to be more hyped about this season, but I am now. And I think it is, again, especially because this isn't just a kind of a throwaway teaser. There's a lot of meaning to this and a lot to unpack, which we've just spent 2 hours doing. So
Yeah.
it's really spectacular beginning to end, I think.
Did you guys touch on the Targaryen symbolism, the Aegon and Visenya and Rhaenys symbolism there?
Yeah.
Went into that.
That was
quite a
cool.
bit.
That's part of what. Yeah, I thought that was really nice. That's one. Like I said, I thought this trailer had a lot of nice touches, and that was one of them. That was just a cool way to add a level to it. So that's cool. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was good. I think you can tell people got pretty hyped by it for the most part, and
Me, I got
yeah.
hyped. I got
Yeah,
pretty hyped.
cool.
I don't know. I just I'm writing a Twitter thread. I don't give a fuck. I'm dumping all my Stark knowledge history about the Crypts in one go.
I
Like,
was
you gotta
living
get-
for your thread, Matt. Living.
You definitely gotta. It's definitely cool that they used a very, very minor detail from the first episode, and I guess it was also touched on a bit later. Didn't Sansa pick the feather back up?
Yeah, it had
Yeah.
fallen off.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay,
Season
so there's
five.
so that little feather's been dealt with twice, 2 episodes for a couple of seconds total, and so that's kind of a neat thing to only Game of Thrones would do something like that. Well, not really, not really only Game of Thrones, but it's rare to see a detail like that focused on in a teaser.
True.
It's kind of an unusual thing to do, but it works. So
I think
yeah.
it worked really well. I would say this was a teaser mostly for book fans. The stuff we're excited about is really not in the show.
Yeah, that is part. Yeah, you're right. That's a good way to put it. It was so it had surprisingly large amount of book relevance for a HBO season 8 teaser. It just doesn't seem like that would happen. You're right.
Yeah,
that's
last season,
really
The Walk,
unexpected.
that was basically nothing. This was tons of good information and things that the book fandom gets excited about all the time.
Yeah, even if they're not as relevant to the actual season as we think they may be, they still sparked these discussions, and that's worth it. That's fun, regardless. It was a catalyst for fun discussions, regardless of how it plays out, and that counts for something, no matter what. That's
Maybe
All right.
they're throwing us a bone after the so writing after the last couple of seasons.
They're throwing the dire wolves a bone.
Exactly.
All right, I think that's a good. I think that's a
Ghost
good point to stop on. So why don't you guys do your plugs and we'll get out of here. Aziz, why don't you go first?
Cool. Well, thank you. Glad I could pop in for a minute. History of Westeros is my channel, of course, and we are doing live streams every Tuesday about Fire and Blood. And not tomorrow, but the week after tomorrow.
Yep.
Mr. Joe Magician here is going to be one of our guests, and we're going to talk about the Shivers, and that's going to be cool.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be highly relevant, I think. It looks to be a juicy topic, one of many from Fire and Blood. And we're releasing a bonus episode on Gagasos and blood magic and slavery and sorcery and all that crazy stuff as well. So good stuff coming from us, I hope, and excellent stuff coming from the fandom in general this time. So I'm excited. Everybody's bustling and excited, and it's a good time to be alive.
That's true. The dragon
to
under
not be
Winterfell
buried in the
Lake.
crypts. Yeah.
Yeah, it will be a lot of fun next week. We'll talk about
Yeah.
shivers and diseases and others and all that other cool stuff.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Joe.
Yeah, thanks for
Joe.
jumping on.
I
even
can never
though-
not call you Joe, even though
You can just call me
Really?
Joe. It's fine.
I have to call him Matt. I can't call him Joe.
Yeah.
Joe Matt. That is a mighty busy piece of art. I love it.
Oh,
There's so much
no
happening
going
there.
on.
That's going right on Twitter. It's going to be great.
Good Queen
cool.
Matt is sane.
Yeah. Because this was the
Good
Women's
Queen
Council.
Matt is
Aziz.
sane. Good Queen Matt is sane.
Madison.
Well,
So
now we're even, but you know.
Until you showed up, it was me and 4 women. So yeah, I got dubbed Queen Allison.
That's funny.
Sam, why don't you go ahead?
Sure. So once again, I am Samantha from Watchers on the Wall, contributing writer, also co-host of the Night's Cast. You can find the podcast on Twitter at Night's Cast, also on iTunes and SoundCloud. And you can find me on Twitter, if you like, at the Sansa Snark.
We did 2 awesome episodes on Nightcast. One of them entirely about beer.
Oh, that was so fun.
That was great. We got drunk on air. It was good.
I was hammered by the end of that episode.
Yes, you were.
Sorry.
It made for good listening. And then we're gonna do. I'm coming on an episode with Bookshelf Stud coming up. I think.
Yeah, I think we're doing Spoils of War.
Yeah, that'll be a
Yeah.
good one.
Yeah.
Mwah.
Ah, ha, ha, ha.
That'll be an excellent one. Make sure you listen to Nicecast. The Watchers on the Wall people are all very cool, and they actually
True
they make a great podcast.
Thank you.
It's recent and keeps getting better.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Especially because Sam does most of
Yeah. Oh, stop.
it. You do your pot at me. And Mallory, last up.
I am Mallory, better known as Sanrixian. You can find me at Sanrixian on Twitter. And I'm also the hand of the Durgan, LML's right hand meme maker, where I draw dumb stuff like this all the time.
Carrot Brand will live forever.
there's
And
a
buy
lot
your
going on here.
calendar. Buy her calendar.
Yes, I have more calendars in stock. So yeah, the code. There's a lot of codes floating out there. Just you can find them, or DM me, and I'll send you one.
Yeah.
So yeah, here's my masterpiece for today. I really.
I just noticed that you did White Hodor and White Stannis.
Thank you for knowing who they were.
Oh,
Somebody said just a white I used to know, and I had that Gautier song pop into my head. Just a white
Sure.
I used to know. Sorry, I'm.
that
the
needs to
worst.
be in a Song of Ice and Fire parody.
Yeah, we can do that. We will do that.
Okay,
Oh yeah, and here's the three heads of the wolf.
perfect. The Cerberus that was promised.
Love
And
it.
basically, here's the trailer's formation.
Yeah.
This is my
That's what it all
mom.
boils down to.
Oh yeah, and I drew you fine ladies.
Oh, thank
Oh
you.
yeah.
I
Mhm,
love that.
of course. And Azazel, sorry, you have birds.
That's awesome. Well, you could there. I just thought of a pun there. You could have Cerberus, the Knight of Three Heads. I don't know. That's for the
Sure.
next stream.
That's for the
we can draw
that's
that
for
one.
the prequel.
Cerberus.
I have
I mean, there's
Care
literally
Bears
Lucifer
already.
Long.
Yeah, right.
Lucifer is in A Song of Ice and Fire.
Confirmed.
Lupicer.
And I guess I'll do mine. Obviously, I'll be on Aziz's stream next week on Tuesday, talking about all the shivers and cool stuff. This upcoming Thursday at 6 o'clock, I'll be on In Deep Geek with Robert. We'll be talking about the Song of Ice, a Game of Thrones prologue. That awesome video I did that everyone likes. You should watch it, by the way, if you haven't seen it yet, about Waymar Royce and why he was killed and all that fun stuff. I'm sure Robert will have a lot of insightful questions I hadn't thought of before, and I'll have to make up cool stuff on the spot because that's how Robert rolls. But
I believe in you.
You got it.
It's always a good time talking with Robert. And this time we definitely won't be talking about the Ned and Robert ship,
Damn.
the one that was promised, the true love that was never consummated. Obviously, I'll be on Night's Cast coming up at some point. I'm not sure on the date. I think it's in February.
Yeah, it's not.
Not recent.
What we're doing is we're now doing season 7, 1 episode per episode of the podcast.
Yep.
We just finished Stormborn, which is going to be out probably within the next couple of days. The next episode, obviously, is going to be episode 3, Queen's Justice, and then I believe you guys are on for Spoilers of War, which will be the second Saturday in February, something like that.
So I'll be pretty good. I got my upcoming theory written, the one that Aziz was privy to me debuting during my Eamon the Dreamer stream about the Dany on the pyre and how everyone is seeing her and how that relates to prophecy. That has been written. It's being edited, so that should be coming out soon. That should be a really good one. Michael was very, very excited about it. He ripped through the editing in about an hour and a half, considering it was 11 pages.
An hour
So,
and a half.
yeah, that's a lot faster than editing normally goes. But he did. So that should be a really good one. And you can find me on Twitter at JoeMagician42. Obviously, you're on my YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, all the things. You can find me on Patreon at patreon.com/JoeMagician. And obviously, the Maester Monthly podcast. A new episode will be coming out next week or two, I think. And I have so many titles. Watchers on the Wall. I'll probably be writing something for them soon. And is there anything else? Oh yeah, I'm a
more
Reddit
titles than Danny these days.
I know. I just have so many. They just keep going. And a Reddit moderator. So come see the Song of Ice and Fire board, and especially if you come to show season, there'll be a lot of great conversation and stuff like that. Okay. I finished. I did it, guys.
Woohoo!
Hooray!
I finished all the things. All right.
You win a carrot.
Not
and a
carrot.
cylinder of coffee.
You win this carrot, Matt.
Oh my god.
The slug carrot.
It's coming for you
probably
very
somewhere.
slowly.
Very
yeah.
slowly.
It's gonna keep telling me chaos is a ladder the whole time. I'm gonna be like, I don't know what you're talking about. Carrot
Full
brand.
of important vitamin B or whatever carrots are full of.
Sounds right.
Fiber is a ladder.
Oh yeah. Last things. Check out History of Westeros' video on the Crypts and mine in LMLs. I'll put links in the description. Thanks,
Well, they're
everybody.
excellent.
This has been quite a lot of podcast about minute 45. We did it. We're out. I'll see you guys later.